Game week 29 is here, so it's time to finalise our FPL teams. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, I have a plan, and I think I know how I am going to navigate Game week 29 and indeed Game week 30. Let's get going. So before we have a look at my Game week 29 plans, we're going to have to start off on a bit of a negative note because it was a pretty big red arrow for me in Game week 28. And I looked through my team and I can honestly say, I don't know what went wrong here. I looked through my team, I thought it was pretty strong. I had that double Brentford attack against Aston Villa, who have been conceding goals recently. We had the likes of Salah, Palmer, Trent against Southampton, thought that would do quite well. But all in all, other than Salah, everyone really disappointed. Assists from Kluivert and Kerkez were a little something, but really, it was a game week unless you had Watkins, Joao Pedro, or maybe some Crystal Palace or Forest defenders. There really weren't many points to be had outside of just a few select differential players. So yeah, a really weak game week for me. I don't really feel like I've made any mistakes other than maybe Dango. I knew Dango was going to be at risk of not starting in that game, but I didn't really want to make a transfer because I wanted to roll into game week 29, so I kind of made that sacrifice there. So hopefully we can pull it back in game week 29, and like I said, I do have a pretty strong plan of how we are going to navigate this game week, and I think I should survive quite comfortably. But before we move on to the Game week 29 plans, do make sure you do leave a like on the video. It is a yellow card for everyone who has not liked the video so far, and a red card if you do not like it very soon. Do subscribe as well if you want to follow along with my FPL team each and every week. Let's keep it moving. So I want to go through my current team fairly quickly because I do have 3 free transfers and I am planning on taking a hit as well this week. So there's going to be 4 transfers, so that is going to be the big topic of today. So let's get some players on the pitch. I'll show you what I have right now and then what I'm thinking about doing moving forward. And maybe some of you guys are in a similar situation to me as well. So first of all, Jordan Pickford in goal at home against West Ham. It's a pretty favourable fixture with West Ham's defence, attack, not really clicking at the moment. Everton, on the other hand, have been conceding a few goals, but they've been keeping chances conceded very low indeed. So I think they've been unlucky not to get clean sheets, and I think this is a good opportunity. Into defence, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, and the latest of hit on him is not particularly positive, if I'm totally honest here, guys. According to the latest quotes and timelines on Trent's injury, he is going to miss the Carabao Cup final, so he's going to miss this weekend, and he's apparently hopeful of playing again this season, which doesn't sound very promising, really. I think the latest estimates is that he could be out for around 6 weeks, which would indeed put him out for game week 30, 31 as well. So Trent Alexander-Arnold injured. We're not sure how long it's going to be. There's no official word at time of recording, but it's not looking too positive, and he could be a player that can be sacrificed quite comfortably in your FPL teams. Gabriel is here as well as a defender for Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal are top defence, keeping a clean sheet every other game week, which is very handy indeed. And Kerkez is in here as well. A couple of assists in recent game weeks. One of them a little bit lucky. The other one, a brilliant cross from him, which was very nice. So looking at him, we're looking for attacking returns, and Brentford just played a game in which they did not score, although I have to admit I'm not super confident about a Bournemouth clean sheet in this fixture because I don't think Bournemouth have been an amazing defence, kind of mid-table maybe. And finally, Castagna, just because he is the defender I previously had on my bench, he does have a fixture. And if I'm totally honest with you guys, I don't think defensive transfers are going to be worthwhile if you can field 11 players. You know, if you've got a playing player for game week 29 who is a defender, even if they do look a bit crap, if they are going to play the fixture for sure, then I think that's probably going to be a good enough. 1 or 2 points is going to be fine, but you never know when you're going to get a clean sheet. It could happen. I don't think Spurs are at the top of their game in attacking measures anyway. Quickly looking through the defensive data over the last 10 game weeks per fixture, and Liverpool are now top of the defensive table, but obviously do not have a fixture this week. Arsenal still very high here, but we also see the likes of Everton and Fulham pretty high, so maybe that can breed some confidence confidence in the likes of Everton defensive assets and Fulham defensive assets here as well. So we do have some strong defenses, or some of the stronger defenses in the squad right now, which is quite useful. Like I mentioned, Bournemouth not super high here. They are kind of down in the bottom half of the table, but interestingly so are the likes of Nottingham Forest. So that is something to keep an eye on. We will be circling back to that one. If we look at Rob T's clean sheet projections here for this game week, Everton have the highest chance of a clean sheet with 36%. That is joint with Arsenal. So Arsenal, even in the more difficult fixtures, are always going to have some of the best clean sheet odds in any given game week. So Everton and Arsenal top the list here. After that, we see the likes of Manchester United and Nottingham Forest, followed by Wolves and Man City. And interestingly, in the top half of the table here for clean sheet odds, we do see Bournemouth, we do see Fulham here as well. So even though some people may feel a little bit cautious about the Bournemouth and Fulham defences, actually the odds are suggesting maybe it's not so bad and there are much worse defenders to have for game week 29. So you never know what might happen. This is where we're at right now though. In my midfield, I have Cole Palmer, who obviously away against Arsenal, we're not expecting very much, particularly with the form that Palmer's been in. It's not been great, and this is probably not the week where he is going to get back to form either. Next up, Brian Mbeumo could have maybe had a penalty last game week, but wasn't given. But against Bournemouth, who I do think is a middling defence, I think there is an okay opportunity here for him. Obviously, Mbeumo has been a super consistent FPL asset throughout the season, so no problems with him. Cliver, another player I'm very happy with up against Brentford, and I think this is going to be where we could start getting some attacking returns in this midfield, because Cliver has been in really magnificent form recently. Penalty taker as well against Brentford. This could spell some danger for Brentford in Cliver. Obviously looking forward to Ipswich at home next game week as well. Could be pretty interesting for the Bournemouth boys. But Dango, not confident here as well. It seems like he is out of the starting 11. Evan Nilsson taking up that striker spot. And we even have Tavernier as well now playing, which actually adds additional competition to the wing slots where previously we thought Dango might be able to fit in. Now, of course, if there are any sudden injuries to any of the Bournemouth attackers over the next day, then maybe I would be looking to keep Dango. But as things currently stand, with him looking at a one-pointer at best this game week, he is a player I am looking to move on this week. So here are the expected goal involvements per start over the last 6 game weeks. And as you can see, my 4-man midfield, they are all top of this list. We've got Salah, obviously, who I've had previously as well, which just, again, it makes me think, you know, statistically, if we looked at the underlying data, I do have the best midfielders in the game outside of Ismaila Sarr, who has been scintillating recently. But outside of that, we've got all the best statistical midfielders here. And I think now when we're looking short term, I'm wondering if we can maybe pick up some midfielders who are in really good form right now, and maybe it will put slightly less emphasis on the underlying numbers, because we're looking for short-term gains, and the underlying numbers are usually a better predictor for longer-term games. So I'm on a wild card yet. The wild card will come in game week 31. I want to look for some short-term players rather than just focusing on the best underlying numbers players, because as we have kind of found out this season, the data game, the analytics game hasn't exactly panned out perfectly so far this season. But anyway, guys, let's move to my forwards next. And we do have Wissa. And this is an interesting one, actually. We've mentioned that I'm not super confident about the Bournemouth defence. But what we do see with Bournemouth, I was checking out the map, the shot map against Bournemouth over the season. And Bournemouth are a team that concede a lot of chances in the box. In fact, I think they've only conceded 1 goal from outside the box this entire season. So a lot of the goals and the shots that they face are inside the box in very central areas. And that does lend itself to Wissa. So even though if I was on a free hit, there's probably a couple of strikers I would maybe prefer to Wissa. In general, I think this is a pretty good pick, and I think he's absolutely fine to take into the blank game week. And finally, we have got Ndai, who is going to be transferred out for me. I've just put him on the pitch there for you guys, so you can see that he is going to be a guy being replaced, and I'll be talking about his replacement in just one moment. But first of all, we do need to have a quick look at the bench. Not that there's anything interesting here whatsoever. Fabianski isn't starting anymore. Salah, Isak and Hall, all players who have no fixture, and Hall indeed is out for the season, injured for the season. But one thing I should note on these bench players, and I'm talking specifically about Salah and Isak, these are players I will definitely want to own later on in the season. They will definitely be coming back into my team, back into my starting 11. They will be on my wildcard team when I play that in game week 31. And as such, I want to hold on to their team value because these are the two players I have the most amount of money invested in. I bought both of these players at pretty cheap. If I sell them now, I'll be selling them at a lower price than I will end up having to buy them back at because of the team value and profit rules in FPL. So these guys, I want to try my best to keep, maintain my team value. That way I can go into my wild card in game week 31 with a lot of money to spend. Hopefully my team value be around 106, maybe even more million by my during my wild card, so I'll be able to spend a lot of money on particularly those bench players so I can produce a really strong bench boost. So that is why I am holding on to Salah and Isak. Some of you guys may need to sell one of these two in order to you know, make those other transfer moves, free up some budget, but for me, I can do it without selling these guys, so that is indeed the plan. So guys, let's talk about transfers. And first of all, I want to talk about forwards in the game of FPL. And what we've got here in front of you guys is a list of forwards over the past 6 game weeks per start, how many non-penalty expected goals each player gets per start in this 6 game week period. Now, I've kind of highlighted the players who do have a fixture in game week 29. So we are discounting Mateta, Cunha because he's suspended, Watkins and Isak. And we can see actually that outside of those players without a fixture this week, who can't play this week, Wissa is actually top for non-penalty expected goals. Beto is in here second. He's another player who could have some good opportunities against West Ham, by the way. They're another team that concede a lot of goals from close range. And we've got Haaland here in third, I guess, who interestingly, not only is he putting up some of the best non-penalty expected goals numbers, but he's also a penalty taker as well. And certainly what we see as we go further down this list, Raul Jimenez, Wood, Delap, Xerxes, even like Joao Pedro, players who have been scoring goals recently, some of that has been through their penalties. So that has been helpful for these guys in picking up points. If we're looking at non-penalty numbers, maybe these guys are slightly weaker in recent game weeks. But regardless, penalty takers are always useful in the game of FPL. I just wanted to flag the best non-penalty XG numbers because the player I want to buy is Erling Haaland, because not only does he have those good numbers, he's a great option for really the next 2 game weeks because he plays against Brighton and Leicester. I'll be wildcarding in 31, so I only need to worry about 29 and 30 for my fixtures. He is going to be a captain option as well, and I think he is back, to be fair, and I think that's what we've seen from him generally. So Haaland is definitely a player I want to pick up. The other reason is because I basically have a choice of 2 strikers who to buy, Haaland and Wood. They're both amazing for this week. I'm sure we can all agree on that one. But I'm only really going to pick up one of these 2 guys. And if I'm totally honest with you guys, I'm going to bet against Wood. Wood has the worst numbers. He is not in the best form in the last few game weeks. He's not been taking as many shots. He's not been scoring as many goals in the last few games. And I think this might be the time, the moment to try and bet against Wood. And that's not to say Wood is a bad pick. I'm really not saying that. But at my rank, I need to start taking some risks. And this might be a good way of taking a risk because most people will have Wood. A lot of people will captain Wood. I think he will, in the overall FPL player base, be a more popular captain than Haaland. And therefore, it's a good time to bet against him if you think there's a chance Wood could flop. And I do think there is a chance of that, in fairness. I think I am going to go for Haaland over Wood. But if you want to play things a bit safer, Wood would be the guy I would go for rather than Haaland. Or if you can have both, that's also fantastic. I unfortunately can't, so I've had to make that decision. So Haaland is going to be one of my 4 transfers that I make this week. Let's have a look next at the fixtures because like I mentioned, I'm looking for a player for 2 game weeks. I'm really looking to buy 1 defender and 2 midfielders in addition to Haaland. I need to downgrade Trent and I need to downgrade Palmer in order to fund Haaland. So this is essential. We need to have a look at the best fixtures. And really, to me, there are 6 teams here that I think have really good fixtures over the next 2 game weeks. We've got Bournemouth, Man City, Southampton, Wolves, Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Now let's talk about defenders first of all and who will be good for the next 2 game weeks. Bournemouth, I'm already covered with Kirkes, and I don't think I want to double up on that particular defence. Man City, I could go for, but really their game week 30 fixture is better than game week 29. Southampton, I don't think I'm going to touch them in terms of defenders. Wolves definitely could go here, to be fair. I think Nori, Agbadu look like good options to go for. Arsenal, I'm covered with Gabriel. And Nottingham Forest is the defence that I've neglected all season. And that's probably why the rank that I have is the rank that I have, because I have been neglecting Nottingham Forest. So looking through these defences, I'm most likely to pick up a defender from Man City, from Arsenal, from Wolves, or from Nottingham Forest, I would say. Arsenal, I don't think I'm going to go for ahead of the Chelsea game. Wolves, I'm still not fully confident in them. And Man City are a team I don't trust defensively entirely. I think the sensible answer for me is to pick up a Nottingham Forest defender. If I'm betting against Chris Wood, I can't also bet against the Forest defence. That would just be a suicidal way of playing FPL. And whilst I do want to take risks, I don't want to throw the whole season out of the basket quite yet. I'm not quite ready for that level of risk. So I think I should go for a Forest defender given these next 2 fixtures. Ipswich and Manchester United are both good fixtures for a defender and indeed an attacker as well. So let's have a look again through these clean sheet odds. We see that Nottingham Forest are 4th here. I've got an Everton defender. I've got an Arsenal defender. I'm not going to get a Manchester United defender because I need someone for 2 game weeks, and Manchester United don't really offer a great 2 game weeks. They have Leicester now, but they have Forest next week. Need someone for 2. Because I don't really have any other options. So the next best clean sheet odds of defences that I don't have, excluding Manchester United, are indeed Nottingham Forest for this game week. So I think it does make some sense for me to go for Nottingham Forest. Could also go Wolves, Man City, I guess, but Forest is the team I'm going to go for. So that brings the next question. Which defender from Nottingham Forest is the best? And there are 4 defenders from Nottingham Forest that play every single game week. Nico Williams, Milenkovic, Aina and Murillo. But who is the best? Well, if I'm totally honest, guys, they all have their individual strengths, and we can kind of see that with these underlying numbers here. And, you know, to be fair, when you watch them as well. So Nico Williams is putting up the most amount of shots. He's taken 9 shots in the last 10 game weeks. So that's kind of just under 1 shot per game. 2 big chances, 6 in the box. This is not too bad for a fullback. It really, really isn't. In fact, his expected goal involvements number is higher than any of his teammates here in the defensive areas. He also does pretty well for bonus points. 160 BPS in the past 10 game weeks is very, very nice indeed. So that does make him a real standout at just 4.4 million. Milenkovic also doing pretty good for expected goal involvements here, particularly when we're looking for those aerial threats from set pieces, but he really does lack in bonus points. 127 BPS in this 10 game week period is really, really poor. So if none of the Forest defenders get any attacking returns, who's going to be getting the bonus points? Definitely not Milenkovic. It's far more likely to be one of the other guys. Ola Aina is next on this list, only taken 1 shot in 10 game weeks. So your chances of a goal here are super low. I know he has scored twice from these long range shots kind of in the first half of the season, but in 10 game weeks, 1 shot really does show that he is not going to be an attacking guy whatsoever. He does, however, have the best expected assists numbers here, though it's not too far above Nico Williams. Actually, it's not even the best expected assist. It's slightly behind Murillo, but I would say because he has 4 key passes, Aina is probably just about the best creative defender here, but really, there's nothing to shout home about here. His bonus points are not as good as Nico Williams, for example. And we can see that Murillo, he is taking more shots than Aina. He has technically got the best expected assists, but I don't think that's sustainable. But He's only played 9 games in the last 10 game weeks because he had an injury a little while ago against Everton, in which Nottingham Forest did keep a clean sheet. So whilst he only has 146 BPS, actually he is the best of all of these defenders when you're looking for bonus points. If all of the Forest defenders keep a clean sheet and none of them get an attacking return, it is most likely that Murillo is the guy picking up the bonus points, followed by Nico Williams, followed by Aina, and finally Milenkovic. So all in all, what does that tell us? Who is the best defender here? Well, I actually think Aina is probably the weakest of the 4 right now, especially if you consider the price as well. Milenkovic looks okay if you want to go for an attacking return from a set piece, but Nico Williams actually doing slightly better from open play. So with additions of the bonus points that Nico Williams picks up, I think that makes him a really strong candidate. But if you are counting on no attacking returns from any of the Forest defenders, you just want to look at clean sheets alone and hope to pick up an additional few bonus points, Murillo is your man. But I want an attacking return and I want bonus points. So I think Nico Williams is the defender for me to go for. So we've got Haaland and Nico Williams so far. Brilliant. Let's move on to the midfield. And let's have a look again at this graphic and we can see the projected goals. Which teams do we think are going to score the most amount of goals? Man City on top. We've got that covered with Haaland. Maybe I could add Savinho as a midfielder. We've got Bournemouth here. I have Kluivert already covered for the Bournemouth midfield. Fulham look good, but honestly, outside of Raul Jimenez, I don't really know where to go. Iwobi? It doesn't really feel right. Manchester United would be an amazing team to invest in if you're investing in Bruno Fernandes. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to afford that, but if you can get to Bruno, I would definitely recommend it. Arsenal here, I don't know who's going to be starting. Is it going to be Trossard, Marino up front, Martinelli's back? Is Nwaneri going to play? Sterling played very well in the Champions League. Is he going to get some minutes? Saka is going to be back in game week 30, we think, as well. So it's really, really tough to pick out an Arsenal attacker who we think is going to be good for 2 game weeks, particularly when their attacking returns are not only pretty low right now, but also pretty spread wide. So I can't really pick out an Arsenal midfielder that I'd like to go for this week, which brings us to Forest next, a team that I don't have any attackers from because I don't have Chris Wood in my team. Is it sensible to get a Forest midfielder? I think it is, actually. I really think it is. So I'm looking currently at the likes of probably Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi as my 2 favourite Forest midfielders. And I think a big reason for that is because of Anthony Elanga. I know he is probably going to be the most popular choice generally. He has got the best underlying numbers technically. But I was looking through some of the games from Elanga. I've been watching some clips. I've been analysing each game individually when trying to figure out the best Forest midfielder to buy, and a lot of the XG that Elanga has recently was in that one big chance he missed against Newcastle. 0.76 expected goals in just that one big chance missed alone. Outside of that, not really been putting up very good kind of goal scoring numbers at all. Of course, he did have some decent assist potential in that game against Newcastle, and of course that game against not against Newcastle, against Brighton, and then maybe a little bit in some of these other games for expected assists. We see like a little bit against Bournemouth, a little bit against Southampton, but this is quite some time ago. Actually, over the last 4 game weeks, really, all of his expected goal involvement has come from pretty much all, like 90% of his expected goal involvements in the last 4 game weeks has come with one big chance missed against Newcastle. That doesn't seem sustainable. And I'm not sure Elanga is in super great form right now generally either. So that is kind of the reason I'm looking to avoid Elanga. I think Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi are taking more shots on. They're playing with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more swagger. And they actually do have attacking returns that they've kind of backed up their performance with in very recent game weeks. So for that reason, I am more inclined to look towards those 2 midfielders from Forest. But I do want to have a look at the best kind of projected goal scorers generally here again from Rob T. Haaland is number 1. In second is actually Raul Jimenez ahead of Wood, which not something I expected, but actually I kind of see it. I kind of understand why. So yeah, Raul Jimenez may be a little bit of a differential, but I can only get one forward. and it's going to be Haaland for me. Outside of that, we need to kind of look at some of these midfielders, because a lot of these players are attackers. Kluivert, we have Sarabia. I don't even trust his minutes, so I'm not going to get him. This is, of course, these numbers are based on a player starting. I don't know if Sarabia is going to start. After that, Fernandes, yes, of course. Dango, probably not going to start. Semenyo is super, super interesting, and I'm very, very tempted by Semenyo. In fact, after those two Forest boys in midfield, I would say Semenyo is the third most likely player I would go for, because I think he is just such a baller. We've got Marino here as well, if he starts as the striker. But again, I think I can see it being maybe Martinelli tried out at striker. Maybe it's the time for that. After that, for more projected scorers, we've got Mbermo, Whistle we mentioned before, Trossard, Garnacho, Nwaneri, Foden. There is not a huge amount here. It is a real spread. There's a lot of players with very similar numbers, and I think it's just going to come down to luck. Pick your poison, pick your favourite midfielder, and kind of hope for the best, because there really is so many options with very, very similar projections this week. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. I'm going to indeed pick my poison, and I'm going to throw the transfers on screen, and I think this is roughly what my team is going to look like for this game week. So let's just say it like this. So it will be Trent, Palmer, Dango, and obviously Ndai out, and we'll replace them with Nico Williams, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, and Haaland. Now, I don't think I will end up in Game Week 29 with both Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi. I don't think I want that double up in the Forest midfield, but I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure I will have one of these two guys. And the other one, honestly, guys, I haven't decided yet. It's most likely going to be Semenyo, but I'm not locked in on that one at all. So, I don't know, guys. If you've got any other suggestions for who my second midfielder should be, and as well, who do you prefer out of Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi? I would love to hear from you guys. I like them both, to be honest. I think I'd be happy going into Game Week 29 with either of these guys. So this is roughly what my team is going to look like, but it's more than likely that one of Gibbs White or Hudson-Odoi will be replaced with another fairly cheap midfielder. I don't know who it's going to be yet. Most likely Semenyo. I will update you kind of on social media and on the deadline stream as well as we approach the deadline a little bit closer. So this is what my team is looking like roughly, and I think this is looking very strong. Obviously did need to take a -4 to get here, but I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's kind of close to a free hit team. I think we're kind of close to a very strong team, and I'm happy I didn't really need to take many hits or anything like that to get here either. And it puts me in a good position for Game Week 30, which I do want to explore as well. But before we do that, captain's armband, as we have mentioned, is going to be on Erling Haaland, with the vice-captain on Kluivert there, who is another player who's been in great form recently. And yeah, that's what we're looking like for Game Week 29. Let's go to Game Week 30 and what my team would look like as a consequence of that. And we can optimize it here, see what things would be looking like. And it would look kind of a little bit like this. And again, it's really strong for Game Week 30 as well. It brings my Game Week rating for 30 up to 98%, so really, really high. Pickford is probably the weakest link of this team, playing against Liverpool away. But outside of that, Gabriel against Fulham, Kirkes against Ipswich, Nico Williams against Man United, perfect. We've got Salah, Semenyo and Kluivert against Ipswich at home, and Mbermo against Newcastle. Haaland against Leicester, Isak against Brentford, and Wissa against Newcastle there as well. And I probably wouldn't plan on making a transfer for Game Week 30, but I will have the money in the bank if I wanted to swap Wissa for Mateta if he was available for that Southampton away fixture. So we could even look something like this for Game Week 30. So I think generally quite strong. What might make it look stronger would be maybe like an additional Man City defender in there somewhere, but I think that is a minor thing generally, and really I do like the look of this team for Game Week 30 as well. And I think it is important for me as someone who is planning on wildcarding in 31 that I make transfers this game week with a view for those 2 game weeks. And I think I have managed to just about do that with what I'm looking at today. But of course, guys, if you want to check out the Fantasy Football Hub planning tool, as well as all of the Opta stats tools that I have shown throughout this video. They are super, super handy. You can check them out by using the link in the description and try them all out, full access for free. So go have a look at that link in the description. Really useful for those of you guys who are super into your FPL team. But that is going to be it for me today. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like, do subscribe if you haven't done already, and check out another video if you would like to. Any comments or questions, be more than happy to answer them in the comments section. But until tomorrow's video, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.